This may be the worst Marvel movie. That is no exaggeration. This movie is terrible. Capital letters and all. I've not seen a Marvel movie in a long time. I didn't watch Black Widow, I didn't see Shang-Chi, and I know this isn't Marvel itself, but I didn't see Venom 2 either. So this was almost a welcome back to theaters for me in a sense, and boy was it a bad welcome. To begin with, this movie starts with this super long scene where it has you read all the background and crucial information you would even need to simply understand the concept of the movie. And at this point, quite literally seconds into the movie, I knew it was going to be bad. Now, there isn't anything wrong inherently. I mean, I still like a bunch of movies that do this. Star Wars is one of them, but I would much rather you show that to me. Show me what you're explaining. I give Star Wars a lot of leeway here since it was originally in A New Hope and almost became a staple for the franchise, but The Eternals isn't bound to a history like this, so it could have easily just shown me, and that's a thing throughout this entire movie that it struggles with. Show don't tell is key, and this movie had a little bit of a struggle with that. Like, a driving factor through this movie is how all the Eternals are family, and they keep driving this idea into us, but it just doesn't simply seem like it. They seem like loosely connected randoms at worst and slight friends at best. Like, nothing I saw on screen screamed family, and this isn't the only thing that the movie struggles with. Oh no, there is a lot more. To begin with, the story sucks. Look, I'll cut it some slack because it's really hard to make a flowing story about this topic, but come on, you can do better than that, please. In the Eternals, we follow, well, the Eternals, who are tasked with protecting intelligent life on a planet. And this is a really cool concept, I won't lie. I like seeing these superheroes in the past because it almost doesn't make sense how all the superheroes we have now showed up like after the 1930s. Plus, I am a big history guy, like I really like world history and all that cool stuff. So seeing these heroes in these locations was cool for me, but we never really got to enjoy any area since the movie just kept bouncing around. We constantly go from the present to these flashbacks that don't really mean much. I mean, the way this movie is structured sucks. And to make matters worse, the actual plot of the movie doesn't kick in until about an hour in. An hour in. That's absurd. And from there, it only gets a little better, but it doesn't make up for that abysmal boredom I felt for the first 60 minutes. I don't use this term a lot because truthfully it doesn't happen often, but this movie is boring. It's really boring. There's no connection to these characters, no flow in the story, it just seems super disjointed and bland. Even the fights were boring, like how do you do that? We just constantly fight these CGI monsters, and I'll be honest, they were not doing it for me. Plus, there was just no tension. I did not care about these characters. You have not shown me any reason to care for these characters, just loosely connected flashbacks. And sorry to tell you, but that's not gonna cut it. Like, it got to the point where I was even rooting for the characters to die, so at least something would happen. Like, how can a movie make me feel that way about its main characters? It's absurd. And when a character would die, we actually just laughed. Because this movie tried to play it off like it was some monumental moment we should be invested in, while in reality, it was the opposite. The movie is just so tone deaf. Like, you will watch a death scene and talk about the mourning of a character, then switch to a pie joke. A freaking pie joke. Are you serious? Because I truthfully can't take this movie seriously if it's going to play off these moments that it wants you to be wrapped up in with crappy humor. Not to mention the characters themselves are just really dumb and annoying. Throughout the movie, they constantly switch back and forth on their morals, and that keeps you constantly switching back and forth from liking them to hating them. Like, just be consistent. It's frustrating. How am I supposed to build bonds with characters when I just hated them 5 minutes ago? And the dialogue, well, it's laughably bad. That's no joke. We actually laughed in the theater at how bad it was. And it's not that it's the actor's fault, because some of this cast was awesome, but that delivery and just what they were saying, yeah, I'm good. And also, they would hit those poses and walk every time they were together in slow-mo, and I thought that was so funny. Like, every single time, it's actually comedy gold. And have I mentioned the 15 or so subplots that went absolutely nowhere? Okay, 15 is a little bit of hyperbole, but seriously, what were they doing? These plots meant nothing to the story, and even when you thought they might, it would just have the stupidest conclusion imaginable. The whole deviant subplot with the unnamed person became so built up, and you would think they would become the main villain, but nope, it goes absolutely nowhere. And that was a complete waste of time. But I guess I should have expected that when your biggest antagonist for the majority of the movie was unnamed. And I hate how this movie tries to play off the fact as well, like, you can't write a single line into the story to cover up your sloppy writing mistakes. Like saying, oh, it was supposed to be a waste of time is stupid. That's dumb. Because now you're just acknowledging, like, yeah, we know that stuff was a total waste of time, but hey, we meant it to be like that. Ugh, this movie is so frustrating. Honestly, I will give this movie credit for 3 things. The CGI did look good, and in general, this movie looks nice. It's vibrant and colorful, and I like that. At least for the most part when we weren't fighting CGI monsters, mostly in the pitch black to save some money, but I'll excuse that. Secondly, the explanation for the Celestials was really cool, and I thought it looked awesome as well. And lastly, Makkari, the super fast one, her scenes in the final fight were badass as hell, and honestly, the majority of the final fight was really good. And Marvel really knows how to do combos, like it's something they consistently get right, and here is no exception. And honestly, I might even go as far as to say this might be one of the best Marvel fights, if not the best. Like, it's actually so good, and despite the rest of this movie, we got so hyped. And seriously, Makkari was badass as heck. Please put some respect on her name. Plus, some cool deaf representation, so I think that's nice. Because in all seriousness, she was the only cool character in the movie. Like, her fight was by far the best thing in the movie, and honestly, it kind of saved this movie for me from a total abysmal state. Okay, anyway, back to the slander. The humor, yeah, it was not that good, and it barely landed. And the humor was only good when it involved Kingo and Karun, plus a few lines here and there from Gilgamesh. Other than that, the cast wasn't really all that funny, so if you're looking for humor, it's not really here, unless you want to laugh at the actual movie, because you can probably be able to do that. And everything I've said before was only what I remembered, so I'm sure I have a bunch of other stuff that annoyed me as well that will eventually just bubble up. So maybe I'll keep you guys informed about all that, or not. Honestly, I just kind of want to forget this movie. Overall, there were only 3 likable characters, 2 cool scenes, and 1 cool character. And only one of the end credit scenes was cool in my opinion. The other one was a little lackluster and kinda iffy. Plus, it just has to be a pretty bad movie for the funniest thing that happened ending up being my friends pretending to snore. Like, you know it's bad when you hear people talking about finishing their physics homework. And I've heard a lot of people say that there are like worse Marvel movies, but from what I remember, none are this bad. Only one that comes close is maybe Thor 2, but it's been so long since I've watched it, so I can't really say. Overall, the story just tried to do too much with too many characters. Honestly, I think it would have worked a lot better if it was just a show. And each episode is focused on a certain time period so we can get actual time and development with these characters, because I like this concept and I wanted this to be good. I went in with an open mind. I didn't even see any of the trailers, but this was truly a disappointment. And because it's so bad, you all get a special little segment, so I'm going to call my friends and see what they thought. Yo.
Hello? Yeah?
Hey, what were your thoughts on the Eternals?
Ass.
Ass?
Actually, it was like, it was borderline mid, but mostly ass.
Alright, sick. I agree, bro. Alright, if you had to give a score, what would you give it?
4.
4? Alright,
4.
sick. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, what's up, Joey?
Hey, what were your thoughts on the Eternals?
Honestly, I thought in the context of a singular movie, I think it was definitely lacking in, I feel like character development and, honestly, like, little things such as acting and, like, just the individual plot lines. I also felt like they extended their backstories a little bit too long in the movie. But over the course of, like, the MCU as a whole, I feel like I think they should be able to set up future movies pretty well, and that like the Celestials and their influence on humankind, I think that should be like set up pretty well if the movies after the Eternals can execute it.
Dope. Thank you. Oh, if you had to give it a score, what would you give it?
Oh, I would say probably like, I'd say max is like a 6.
Okay, sick. Thank you.
Hello.
Yo, Sean, what were your thoughts on the Eternals?
It was alright, you know. It wasn't bad, nor was it good, but it was pretty bad for a fucking Marvel movie.
Alright, sick. If you had to give it a score, what would you give it?
I would give it a solid 6.
6? Alright, sick. Thank you. Yo, John.
Yeah, bro?
Yo, what'd you think about the Eternals?
This is what I did, bro. When I got home, I did my ethics homework and finished it. I dead ass, bro. That movie was so boring, bro. I was in a history class and crap.
If you had to give it a score, what would you give it?
I was like me throughout the whole movie, bro. Dead ass. If I gave it a score, I don't even know. That shit's down, way down. That shit's little, but like I'll give it like a 4, bro.
Alright. Sick, thank you.
That's that.
Well, there you have it. Honestly, this movie made me mad. Like, it was such a waste of time, and I really should have just watched Dune or 007 because I want my money back because it was not worth it. So, The Eternals gets a 2.5 out of 10. This movie sucks. Don't watch it. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any comments of your own, make sure to leave them down below. And normally I would ask if I was too harsh, but I really didn't like this movie. But I guess I could see how some people could. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed it. Also, look at this graph. Okay, but as always, stay awesome. TooAwesome, thanks for watching.